Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining Metaverse Express Full Stop, where we hit the brakes to discuss hot topics in the metaverse. Joining me today is a very special guest. He is the Director of Events at Decentral Games. I hope I got that right. He's gonna let me know shortly. We call him Murph. That's because that's just how everyone knows him in Web3. Murph, I'm so excited you're here today. Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mona. It's awesome to be here. I appreciate you having me.
We met, what was it, 2 weeks ago, right? Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Time flies. In Miami.
Yeah, it was the 31st of January because it was the Gamers Awards.
We met at the Gamers Awards, yes. Mm-hmm. And this is exactly why, guys, I love these events, because I'm telling you, some of my greatest friends and colleagues that I've met in this space have come through events. So not only I go to events to learn, and that's how I really have learned the majority of what I know today, but I go there just because I think there's something about meeting each other in person. Don't you think? And just meeting new people.
Yeah, the networking is amazing. Especially, I don't know if it's Web3 events especially, but every time I go, it's the engagement and the people you meet. It's amazing. And after each event, it's always something new to do. Some new collab.
It is. And, you know, we were joking around earlier. I'm like, everyone in Web3 is incognito, all right? They have it. You just know them by their voice from Twitter Spaces and their PFP. So then you meet them in person and, you know, they're talking to me the entire time. And I'm like looking at them. I'm like, I have no idea who you are, but can I see your Twitter page? I'm like, oh, okay. I know exactly who you are. But it's just, there's something about meeting people in person and just getting their vibe and energy. And I was just really excited, I have to say, when I learned you were the man behind some of the events in Decentraland, because I am absolutely obsessed with Decentraland events. They're so well done. So I'm going to say kudos to you, right? Because you have a little birdie also told me you've directed, am I right to say, over 650 official events in Decentraland?
Yeah. In that was last year, a little over a year, we did about 650 events with Decentral Games. So we're doing anywhere from 4 to 15, 16 a week. Wow,
that's a lot. But was that during COVID? So you were doing that during COVID, right?
Correct. There was everyone sitting at home. There wasn't a lot going on. So, and you know, we were newer in the space and just had the venues to really throw some really engaging, cool events. So,
I bet. Yeah, and I can't wait to get into some of these events and have you talk about them. I mean, my viewers know I'm always in Decentraland, down on those digital streets looking for events, and especially Metaverse Fashion Week is one of my favorite events. We're going to talk about that. By the way, it's coming up at the end of March, correct?
Correct. March 28th through the 31st.
Okay. We don't have a lot of information on it yet, but I'm hoping that Murph will join me again when we get closer so he can tell us what we should all be expecting. Can I hold you to that?
Would love to.
Awesome. Yes, that's one of honestly, my number one favorite event at Decentraland. So we're going to have this conversation. But before we get started, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of introduce yourself and give the audience your background in this space and how this whole Web3 journey started for you.
Sure. So I go by Murph. I'm Murph Justic in Decentraland and pretty much all socials. I found crypto I heard about it in 2013. A friend of mine back then tried to get me into Bitcoin mining, and I didn't do it, which, you know, regretfully. And then I kind of forgot about it for a while. And then
we all have our regrets, Murph. Don't worry, we all have our regrets.
The $100 a token. I was just like, oh, that seems cool, sure, and then just didn't follow up. But so and then again, I had a really close friend get into crypto in like early 2017. He worked for a Dext at the time. So I started paying attention. I found it really interesting. And then the market went crazy and we had the 2017, pop. So that's when I decided to buy my first little bit of crypto at the very top. So that was fun. Luckily it wasn't too much, but it really got me in, and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. And then 2018 kind of followed along. 2019 is when I found NFTs, kind of the October, November. Bought some like crypto kitties, and I thought that was really interesting. You could like mate these digital cats, which seemed
Yeah.
ridiculous. It was fun, and then
Huge
after,
following, yeah.
yeah, it's really cool. I think it broke Ethereum back in the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was the shit back then. Yep.
It was crazy. It was hot. It was like, what?
Guilty as
But
charged.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, it was really interesting because it was like one project took down the whole network and like brought it to a halt.
Yeah,
So
I'm
anyway,
sure I'm sure they look back
historical.
now and like you remember when layer one couldn't even, yeah. Anyways, that's I
Can you
digress.
handle cats?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so went from and then Ready Player One. I remember watching that movie and was like, oh, this is like going to be the future. This is crazy, the potential. And then read the Decentraland white paper, and for me, I was like, oh, this is like the path to that. And so I was paying attention, and you know, got an email about getting a name early before it became public, and so I got in and kind of forgot about it, and then was invited to join beta in January 2020. And I had already purchased a couple NFTs on OpenSea that were some pair of Chucks, these shoes that you could use in Decentraland. And I remember thinking like, oh, these look really cool, but I hope they look cool in the world because you couldn't even access it.
I should have
Um,
made you bring that out with you. Next week, will
next
you
time.
bring it with you next week? Because I do want the viewers to see it.
Yeah, I can show some of those for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, and then I so January 2020, I remember jumping in and just being like, whoa, this is really cool. And back then it was like there was really nothing built. There was a few like, the foundation had built some things, and they were running some like scavenger hunts and stuff to engage, the players. And then it opened up February 2020. Actually, 2 days ago was Decentraland's third birthday, which is pretty cool.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Decentraland!
Happy birthday to Decentraland. We're both February birthdays.
uh, and then really that kind of through those initial events, I started meeting people in Decentraland. And for me, that was kind of like the first, because I didn't do a lot of like Sims or, I played Sims back in the day when it was all buildings and things, but, for actual interactions with like people, like this was kind of a first for me for virtual worlds. And it kind of blew my mind. And I had a lot of fun with it. Started collecting a lot of these NFTs and things you could, because I also collecting, a collector. So being able to like get these little items and wear them in world and trade them with friends if you wanted to was a really neat concept for me. And it showed me, and that's kind of when the technology clicked. And I remember thinking like, this is going to change how games are played, just how digital items are shared. Like it's crazy that you can own these, items like that. So as I kept, kept showing up, kept coming back, and started getting into the communities more and joining in like in Discord and things. And from there is really where I found the community side of Web3. And that's what pulled me in. Like the crypto and like the money side and then figuring out the technology and the potential of that was really interesting. But the relationships I started building and just meeting like-minded people or just really interesting people from around the world that I would never have interacted with before that or outside of that world, just I found fascinating. So yeah, just kept going in and coming back and playing, just participating. For me, that was, I just wanted to participate in anything that was blockchain, Web3 game, environment that I could. I found it completely fascinating. Axie Infinity, I started playing that back then a lot.
Yep.
Um, and then I actually I'm with Decentral Games now,
Hmm.
and we're a Web3 gaming company within Decentraland. And there was a moonshot soccer game, which was in world. They had teams from different projects around Decentraland at the time, and Decentral Games was part of one of those. And they had a missing player that was out that day, and I knew one of the guys on the team, and he asked if I could sub in. So I subbed in, got to play. It was terrible, but they won, so I felt okay about it. Met the team, and then a few months later, was approached about becoming a community manager for Decentral Games part-time. So at the time, I was working with one of the big four accounting firms in the US, and really doing Decentraland as a hobby, a heavy hobby.
Me
But
too. Look
yeah,
where hobby got us.
yes,
We all
it's
left our
crazy.
Web2 traditional jobs. Here we are.
Oh,
Yeah,
never looking back. It's so wild.
exactly. Yep. Never
So
looking
yeah,
back.
and then through that, they released their token. It was November 1st, 2020, and it just went crazy. So that's when I first started getting involved with the events. And at the time it was actually a full-fledged crypto casino. So
Yeah,
we had
I remember that.
roulette, blackjack, things like that. You could play and win crypto. And we started holding art auctions and concerts, and just really the beginning of all the entertainment that we've been doing.
Yeah.
And at one point with the CEO now, at the time it was just a handful of us, was saying how busy it was, crazy, we need more people. And I was like, hey, if I figure out what it would take to leave my corporate gig,
Yeah.
would you consider it? And he's like, absolutely. Next day I put in my 2 weeks and was been heads down Web3 ever since. And that was
Here you are.
February. Yeah, that was the end of February 2021. Yeah.
So you're
Jump ship.
you're yeah, I mean you came in a good timing. I think I came into it probably right before pandemic as well. And I was doing this as a hobby too. And actually I remember Decentraland was one of the very first projects that I invested into, just because and you could go, and I mean you obviously still can go. Back then you could go in through your browser, and I think that's what got me to actually go and do it. And it
Yeah.
was so fascinating. It was glitchy. I remember it was glitchy, but it was very fascinating. Now, a lot of my viewers should be familiar with Decentraland, because I'm often in there and I take people in and
Mhm.
show them around. But for the viewers who may not know, will you give us just a short review of why is Decentraland such a unique metaverse? What is it that's offering that other metaverses don't really offer, I would say? What stands out the most about Decentraland?
So Decentraland, it's a 90,000 parcel 3D immersive environment. And I feel like it gives you the most kind of control on your assets and your experience, and has the tools to be able to build out on that. So there's a lot more you can do with scripting and just building in general. And I'm not a back end guy. I know just enough to get by for for
Yeah.
work. And but the experiences seem to be just a bit more let me say it, robust,
Yeah.
even then. And at the time, I mean, there really wasn't a lot of other options. Like now we're seeing other metaverses come out, and I know the metaverse terminology is, it's a little, wide, or wide definition. And but because I feel like metaverses have existed, right? So you've had like these other immersive worlds, but in Decentraland, you're from your land to your clothing to every item, everything that you can have in the game are NFTs, and you have complete control. Secondary market has always been interesting. You can buy and sell
Hmm.
your shirts and your land and your shoes, and now emotes and all different kinds of things. So
Yeah.
and I found that the communities too. Again, it was the people I was meeting in Decentraland, and the people, and it's even, I mean, hundredfold now, right, with the
Yeah.
popularity over the couple of years, and it just seems to attract really intelligent,
Yeah.
like motivated people.
For me, that's what always stood out about Decentraland. They just knew how to gather people, which I'm gonna ask you, go a little deeper on the event side of things. But sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, you're good. I'm just kind of thinking through it. Just a robust world,
It
and
is.
because it's being built kind of from the ground up on this new, decentralized platform, it just offers something that you can't find anywhere else.
Yeah,
And yeah, and
absolutely.
it just
I
kept
agree.
coming back. And even like you said at the beginning, it was super buggy and laggy. And I remember refreshing, and like my character from before was over there, and I'm just like, no, and the team's done just an amazing job,
Yeah.
updates and building and just kind of bringing it to where we are today. And there's a lot to go, if you will. Excuse me.
Still, yeah, of course. There's
Yeah,
still a lot.
plenty of yeah, success on the horizon, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I want to talk about the Central Games too within the Decentraland and the company that you work with. Will you talk to us a little bit about how the Central Games is leveraging the blockchain side
Mhm.
of Web3 in its events and some of these gaming experiences so people understand?
Absolutely. So I mentioned earlier we had, some games early on, but for the last year and a half, we have been a little less than that, but we have completely NFT gated poker lounges. So it's no gambling, it's not a casino, and what you can do is through blockchain, you have these wearables that we were talking about, and so the wearables actually get you into the ecosystem to play poker at the tables in Decentraland. So it's like a gated type of deal where you have the hoodie or the pants, or we have all these really cool outfits that you can get, Pharaoh and Pilot, things like that.
Yeah.
And it allows you to play these games, beat quests, and earn ICE token or crypto. And then we have another game that's a sit and go format, and it's called Ice Poker Arcade, which is my favorite personally. It's 6-person tournaments, and we have a metaverse version where you go in and play in Decentraland, and there's a mobile version. And at this really low entry point, NFTs, super low cost, you basically load them up with Shine, which is basically your token, like a Dave and Buster's or another arcade, and then you play 6-person tournaments. And so they're a bit faster. The actions, a little bit more exciting, in my opinion. And the winner, the first place gets 2 badges, and second place gets 1 badge. And then you take these
Mm.
badges, and then you bring them to our marketplace, and you can trade badges in for Decentraland wearables if you're into that. We have iPhones,
Nice.
MacBooks, merchandise, so hoodies, things like that. But really, to be able to do any of this, it has to be through the blockchain, and through
Yeah.
it's all on Polygon is our main, or
Mhm.
is our L1 or L2 that we use.
Yep. If viewers don't know, I mean, there's so much more in there that is with the same kind of format and build out that you're describing is not just the poker. I really encourage people to go in and
Mhm.
check it out for themselves. But I mean, the Decentraland, it is all about these experiences, from the art shows, the concerts, the fashion shows, the activations, the poker games, the races. I mean, the Decentraland has become truly a metaverse of immersive experiences and gatherings, if you will, right?
Absolutely.
Through the years that you've been there and throwing some of these events, what have been some of your most successful events in terms of engagement and participation? And what would you say made those events successful?
I mean, we've had some popular musicians come in. Like we had an event with Dylan Francis that I think there was a few thousand within an hour or two came in. And that was, we had games and you could win prizes and claim wearables and things like that. Um, some of the art shows have been really cool and brought in some good crowds. And so we would do showcases for different Web3 artists and we'll stream in like an interview with them, do a little bit of an AMA, and then often do some type of, Twitter contest with prizes and different competitions. So I found like the success really is, or the most successful events are when you provide some really good entertainment and then some engagement, something to do. And because I found, sometimes you go and it's really cool to have music and to have, things to watch or listen to, but being able to interact and with your friends in the metaverse is the most fun. So like we have these sit and go tournaments in the metaverse, which I like a lot better than the mobile. Just the pure fact is you go into Decentraland, you meet up with your friends, you join the tables. There's say there's a stream on the wall where there's music coming in, so you got entertainment. You can claim a POAP, which is the proof of attendance protocol. So you can pick up an NFT while you're hanging out, and then you see in the chat is just people going back and forth, kind of having fun with the game, and just interacting. And that's always been just the coolest part. And then learning new things.
Yeah.
Like
learning is a big part of it.
Yeah, just, I mean, I love my events, of course. The stuff we do is great and I really enjoy it. And going out there, there's, like some of these, like the Brazilian carnival events and these different holidays from other cultures that, I mean, I know about carnival, but carnival, I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but I've like learned about cultures and new music and just things that I would have never been exposed to if I hadn't been involved in Decentraland.
Yeah, absolutely. When I talk to builders in the metaverse environment, we always talk about what is that ideal metaverse environment and who's going to build that ideal metaverse environment where people are going to want to spend hours on end doing things, right? What are your thoughts on that? What do you think? I don't want to say who is going to build that because we certainly don't know that yet. But what is that, in your opinion, ideal metaverse environment where people are going to want to spend hours, in their day in that environment?
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a really smooth experience with really effective engagement tools. I still feel like there's a lot to be desired for a lot of the chats and the voice channels in these metaverses. And once we can figure out the best way to have, whether it's the geolocation voice or however that's integrated, I think it's going to be a huge help. I think onboarding is tough too.
Yeah,
it's just the user experience in the beginning, especially if you're not a Web3 native, is like Decentraland, and a lot of these are, there's a little bit of a learning curve to have a wallet and make sure that you have the hardware that supports the graphics with some of these builds and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it'll just be the more, and it's cracking the engagement puzzle too, right? So it's coming up with new innovative ways to get people involved and interact with each other. For a long time, I mean, there was like art galleries were everywhere. And it's like art galleries and parkour was just the experiences. And which makes sense. It's low hanging fruit. I mean, it's a place where you can put your NFTs, that these digital assets. Not everybody has the digital frames, things like that.
Yeah, people love art and collectibles. I mean, you that's definitely a lower hanging fruit for people, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And now that like we're doing the poker, and then there's people doing some like car racing with Roomway, and there's golf and pool, and there's a lot more options. And I think as that grows and as the technology improves,
Yeah.
we'll be able to have much more engaging and just more just enjoyable experiences.
Yeah, and my answer to my own question has always been, I feel like, an environment where people can, like you said, gather, meet, learn, and also still be able to go to their Zoom meetings or go see a concert, go to an art show. And even when you get commerce, involved in all of this, where I can go shop with my friends. So I think creating an environment where you can do all of those things is what ultimately these builders need to create. But when we talk about mass adoption, we often talk about, gaming as a lower barrier to entry to lure web to users into Web3, right? And it's more probable and more palatable to entice the mainstream to adopt some of these Web3 concepts like NFTs, or like you were mentioning, in-game economies, digital currencies, through gaming and through these, like you said, these fun metaverse experiences. But I want to even extend that to what you do. How do you go about onboarding mainstream audience into these worlds through events? And are there any particular tactics or strategies that you guys use to maybe not only just bring them in, but also teach the newcomers as well?
For Decentraland, you can come in as a guest. So we have promoted that in the past, like, come check it out, and you don't need to get a wallet, things like that. But really, it's through education. So we've done, I've teamed up with like Luna, the artist, and a few others, and we did some workshops to help onboard some folks. And then to incentivize, people coming in and kind of and onboarding and learning about it, we would host events where people would, like the fans, they could hang out with Luna or some of these other artists. And then using these events as like the prize, it's, you went through all of this effort, and it's really not difficult. It's just taking the 15-20 minutes to go through it, and once you have it figured out. But really, for us, onboarding we've used for our games, we have set up webauth, so you can sign up and play our games now through an email or using Google sign-on, and you actually get like a free wearable that you can use in Decentraland, and it's loaded with the Shine, so you can try the games out with very little friction. So it's come in, check it out, you see yourself in your outfit, you can play the game, and then that may motivate you to put in a little more work to really understand how the system works.
Let me just say this. When we are in these environments, we don't want to feel like there is a blockchain. We don't want to feel like we have to connect things. We just want to come and play, right? And although some of those were very alive, in the very beginning when I first went in there, but for some reason, Decentraland always puts the fun of the game first. And it's whether it's through visuals or through experiences, even if it's clunky, I still had fun in there and there's a lot of people that show up for these events. So you can talk to these people. And I think that's what kind of enticed me to come in. But I was just wondering if there were any particular strategies that you guys use to onboard newcomers as well, but which you kind of answered that.
Yeah, really, it's because there's certain things that if you want to be in Decentraland and you want to get some outfits and you want to really participate, there's a few things you just have to learn, or because you have to have a wallet if you want to receive things, if you want to keep things, if you want to wear things,
right,
outside of the defaults, things like that. So really, so it became more of incentivizing, like, okay, so if you do this, there's a really cool experience that you're going to enjoy. It'll be totally worth it. And for me, it was fun because it was challenging, but it wasn't so difficult. I was just like, oh my God. and then once I saw that I finished the steps and then I was in the world, it was just like, I did it. This is crazy. And now you can run around and you know, like you're saying, talk to your friends and all that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
no, I feel like across the space, we're all trying to figure out, the secret sauce to onboarding.
Of course. And speaking of, Web3 stands for community, and community building is the premise, right, of building a successful brand. How do you see the role of events and community building in that broader adoption of blockchain gaming and Web3 in this case?
Yeah, I mean, events is the opportunity to bring these communities together. It gives communities something to do together and engage and, create memories and learn new things, have new experiences with, individuals from across the world. It's global. And
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite parts about Decentraland and just Web3 in general, is the communities and the people you meet. And then, the events in Decentraland, you get to bring it to not only now, you're not just chatting with people in Discord or, in Twitter or wherever the platform of choice may be. You can now see them and you can, check out my new outfit and like, look at this cool thing I got. And then, because I like to, go in the forest, so I bought this cool green shirt. Like, you can express yourself and you can share these new experiences with people that in other environments and other platforms, it's it's all either through text, things like that. So it gives you that immersive experience.
That's what I love about this space too. There are no walls. There's just, borderless spaces that we all get to be a part of and get to know each other and build our communities. But we're still so very early in Web3. It's still in a very nascent space or stage, I should say. We still have a lot to work through from our, as you and I were saying earlier, from our layer one solutions to privacy and security. And not to mention, we often talk about interoperability within these gaming metaverse environments too. And to be able to take your wearables and your in-game assets from one space to another and not have to jeopardize that in any shape or form. So it seems like builders really still have a lot of work to do in some of these areas. And like you said earlier, we want this process to be very smooth for the masses. We kind of have the knowledge and we know how to work around it. But a lot of people, if we bring millions of people, we're absolutely not ready for that yet, right? I know that you probably would say you still see some challenges. What are some of the frictions that you think we still need to mitigate?
The hardware type of issues, being able to have a smooth experience on a lower grade machine would be amazing. So it's really optimization of the tech. The onboarding, again, like you're saying, like you shouldn't know you're using NFTs, if you will. Being able to having that seamless entry point and still being secure and having, being able to enter the space and, do your thing, go shopping without having to worry about, all these crazy wallets and things. It's the performance, the onboarding, and education and awareness. A lot of people don't even know. You can't care about something if you don't know about it.
Yeah.
So it's getting the word out that we're doing these things and you're, like what you're doing. Things like this need to be just happen more often. And but yeah,
yeah.
I
also, yeah, of course. I also want to talk about NFTs and there's such a big part of this world now, these spaces that we're in, and they're really shaping or changing, I should say, the gaming industry. And also, let's not forget events. On the gaming side, from in-game economies like play to earn, listen to earn, watch to earn, and then in-game assets or even things like token gating. And then on the event side, I've had a couple of builders on my show who spearhead that whole arena of events and ticketing. And the idea that tickets are not even just a ticket anymore, right? They're a door that opens you up to these immersive experiences. Can you talk a little bit about the role and the impact of NFTs that you see in this area? And how do you think that NFTs are going to evolve more on a more broader scale.
Yeah, I mean, NFTs are, the technology is, you know, perfect for ticketing, and you know that can you come in, yes or no? Are you in or out of the club type of thing with NFTs? And that's why these communities are so popular, because you get the PFP or whatever it may be, and it's, you know, it's immutable. You either have it or you don't. So you're in or you're out. And
Right.
and then with the blockchain technology, it's much harder to you know, counterfeit tickets and things like that. And
Yeah.
within Decentraland and some of these other you know, blockchain platforms, like you had mentioned, the token gating. So the not only, you know, people can't sneak in the back door. So, you know, it's just
Mhm.
it's really lends itself to being able to have a reliable ticketing system that is, you know, effective on allowing those who have the ticket and those who don't. And then afterward, I mean, after, you know, I personally have always collected, you know, whether it's tickets or, you know, lanyards from shows or different experiences.
Same. I'm
And
looking
now
at a
this,
stack of them
right?
right on my door. Yeah, I do too.
So many.
Yeah.
And it's like they just sit in my closet. But now, and you're starting to see this now too, is where you just keep your NFTs that were your tickets in the past, and now they can, you know, be used in combination with others to, you know, access something new, or it's, you know, allows you to keep it as a keepsake and keep, you know, save it with your collections. But being on the having that being in the contract, you can, I mean, that ticket can forever be used for other things. So
Yeah,
it's just it's really cool. And
absolutely.
now you can have your and the case of art, and that's, I've talked to some, maybe some of the same people, but with working on the ticketing side of it, and the whole idea that not only you're buying a ticket, now you're buying like memorabilia for
Of
that,
course.
you know, experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what else is cool about it? The idea that people, it's giving people from all over the world the opportunity to be at an event that they may perhaps not been able to be there or afford to be there, right? And people can even now do courtside seats, right? They couldn't afford it otherwise, but now they can be right there and engage with that game or with that artist and that concert. But I do want to ask you, because I was always wondering, how do you balance the immersive experience of a metaverse event with the needs of accessibility and inclusivity for all participants, especially when it comes to disabled people or people who may not have those technologies? Have you guys thought about that? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, well, especially with like physical disabilities and things, it definitely allows, you know, to provide experiences that they couldn't, you know, physically enjoy outside of a virtual space.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's participating in a tennis match, or, you know, sitting courtside at a game, or front row at a concert, and being able to interact with the avatar of, you know, your favorite artist, things like that. Is just the accessibility. It's just much more realistic and easier to bring, you know, an artist
Yeah.
from, say, the US to Japan. You know, now you can meet in the metaverse. And as the technology improves, those experiences are, you know, they're just much more rich than they've been in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love that borderless thing that we talked about, right? And we can all come to an event. We can all afford being at that event. The only thing
Yes.
I just want the Decentraland to look less clunky. When can we expect that? Do you know? I mean, do we need goggles? Is there going to be goggles that are coming out for the Decentraland? How can we?
So what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
yes, they're going to be, from what I heard, and you know, none of this is scripture, so but I've heard that that the new SDKs will, or the, you know, the building tools for the developers will allow for using, because right now I believe it's Unity is is what you have to use to build within Decentraland. So it's going to allow for Unreal Engine and some other tools that, you know, can offer a different look and feel experience. And the idea is that it's a platform to build on. So it's like the base layer. And then Decentraland itself should allow for, you know, a much wider spectrum of these experiences, you know, when it's the aesthetics of it and just the general capabilities and functionality. So I think we will see a lot more of that in the next, you know, couple of years coming.
Oh, I can't
VR
wait.
I'm pretty sure VRs will be part of it pretty soon too.
Oh, I can't wait.
I
Can you
believe it'll be
imagine
optional. I know.
watching that
It'll be
whole
crazy.
fashion show, like VR right there? Oh my gosh, I will lose my mind. It will be so amazing.
Yeah, or the music festival, Music Week was amazing, and just some of those
Yes.
builds, just I couldn't like if I had those VR goggles, it would have been crazy.
Oh my
So
gosh, I can't wait. I can't
I
wait.
can't
So,
wait.
but at least it's coming. We know it's coming. So that's good news. We can show patience. But
Yes, yes.
Murph, as we start to kind of get to close, every time I have builders and creators on my show, I always ask them about their why. So I want to ask you your why. Why are you facilitating these events and activations and bringing people together and communities together in Web3 and just creating these amazing experiences for people? Why are you doing that?
I'm excited every morning to do what I'm doing, and just to see what we can build and the experiences that we can create, and then watching, you know, others come in and just their reactions and just really enjoying themselves, and then some of the relationships that are made, like the communities and basically the community and the relationships is why I do it. And you know, the nerdy tech side too definitely
Me
helps.
too.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, and I just find it still fascinating.
Yeah.
um and to be able to, and now that I found a place that, you know, I can you know, still support myself and do something I love every day, is definitely the why.
Oh, isn't that just amazing? I mean, that is really similar to my why, because I just wake up every day. I'm like, who am I going to interview and meet this week? And what am I going to learn? And the space is moving and evolving so quickly. I can hardly keep up. But it really keeps you on your toes and you're learning something new every single day. And what's really special about it is that it's a blank canvas for anyone with any genre or any passion that they have in any area to kind of build their own world and set their own stage. And that's really, really special, because it's not very often that we can say we were a part of something from inception, right? And I
Right.
think that's what makes it very special. And I think what we all have in common is a lot of people in this space left their traditional jobs to do this right here. So
That
we're
says something, right? That's got to say
that,
something.
yes, of course it is. And I'm so glad there's a
Sorry.
blessing and a curse to be a early adopter, but hey, we take the risks, right? You got to take risks.
That's true. That's true. There's a lot of pros, but there are definitely a few cons. I don't know if it's the Web3 space, but in any other industry I've been in, just how nice people are in
Yeah.
Web3. I mean, outside the scammer stuff, of course, but
I was just going
Web3
to say, outside the
community.
hackers and
Yeah,
scammers,
yeah.
the rest
Don't
of
click
us are
that button, but
nice
outside of those
guys.
guys, yeah. No, but when you get into like the communities, and when you're really trying to, like, you know, build and grow and, you know, meet people, I haven't met one person that has either shut me down or been mean or anything. It's most common, it's, you know, people are willing to help and they want to collaborate. It's like,
Yes.
oh, what are you doing? Like, because like you're saying, there's so much going on, it's so fast that just everyone has kind of an open door and is ready to
Yeah.
see what's, you know, to do something new.
Yeah, absolutely. Even CEOs of these companies, builders, they're all willing to come out of their offices and from behind the computer and talk to the communities and educate, which is very, very, very unique and special. You never had a Jeff Bezos or, Mark Zuckerberg come and create communities. So that's what's super
True.
special about Web3 and about this space. I do want to ask you, what should people be expecting from the Decentral Games in 2023? What do you have coming up that we should be looking forward to?
Well, we are heads down building. So we are releasing a bunch of updates for our Ice Poker Arcade. So we're going to have a lot more of the metaverse in-world events. We're expanding the marketplace. We're doing some really cool partnerships coming up. We're doing a drop with CoinGecko and Polygon, so you'll be able to have like some really cool branded outfits that you can play the games. We have a lot of really good entertainment coming this year. Some of the Decentraland DJs, we bring in some DJs and performers from all around the world.
Yes,
So there's just so much going on, and I'm really excited about all the updates coming to our products and stuff. So it'll just one step closer to those experiences, like you're saying. You're just going in, hanging out with your friends, playing some cards, buying some outfits, whatever the case is. But
Yeah.
yeah, we have lots of just check out the website, and we have an events page so you can see all of the events coming up.
I was just going to ask, will you
Decentral.game.
yes, please tell people where they can find you, where they can find more information about the events.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm MURPH'S on Twitter and Instagram, at Decentral Games on Twitter and Instagram. And then our website is decentral.games. So you'll find all of the information on everything we're doing. I think /events will take you to the events. I'd have to check. I may have changed that. But yeah, so, and then app.decentral.games. If you log in with an email for your first time, you get a free wearable and you can try the games for free. So it's a good time.
Absolutely. I know it's a good time, and I hope if people haven't checked that out, they're going to go check it out. I'm going to have you back next week, hopefully, because we're doing another show on wearables where we're going to have two other guests as well. We're going to talk about the evolution of wearables. So be sure to tune in for that. And I'm hoping that Murph, as we get closer to the Decentraland Fashion Week, he'll join us again and tell us some of the alphas that we should be expecting during that event. Lots of exciting stuff coming up, so be sure to stay tuned. I will put Murph's information in the note section of the video in case you didn't jot down when he was talking. Murph, thank you so much for participating in the show today. It was so great to have you on.
Thank you so much, Mona. This was a lot of fun, and I look forward to our next chat.
Of course, we're going to do it next week, so be sure to tune in. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on the latest episode of Metaverse Express Full Stop. I'm your host, Mona. Until next time.